Welcome today to our fourth Design Insider webinar. Design Insider, as many of you know, is an online magazine which brings the latest news and trends from the contract furnishing sector. Design Insider is also connected with the BCFA, which is the British Contract Furnishings Association, who facilitate opportunities for our members, including providing knowledge, skills development and inspiration. Now, today I have a real great pleasure of speaking with Daniel Gray. Hi, Daniel.
Hi. Hi.
Who has worked at Coexistence for nearly 20 years now. Since 2005, he's been a director, and for the last 2 years has worked as the managing director. Daniel is an advocate of the benefits of design thinking, passionate about sustainability, and focused on helping people to succeed. So I know that this is going to be a fantastic conversation that we have today. So first of all, hi Daniel.
Hi Alice.
Perhaps you could begin by providing everybody with a little bit more information about Coexistence.
Sure. Well, Coexistence for the last 45 years has been working with architects and designers, end user clients, and other professionals in and around the FF&E space to supply and consult on design-led furniture, lighting and accessories, and we provide services right from the consult stage right the way through to the delivery and installation and the project management stage. So we see the FF&E from start to finish, and we support and promote a large number of design-led furniture brands that run across Europe, in fact probably across the world, but majority of them are in Europe, and we promote them on the basis that we want to get the right products for the right project and for the right use, and use our experience to do so.
Absolutely. So is it business as usual for you and your team?
Well, I'm going to answer that with a very simple answer, and it's absolutely no. I have a bit of a problem with the term business as usual because, and I've seen it a lot, and I tend to think that perhaps it is a bit of a knee jerk, but we've actively not used it on any of the communications that we've used both internally or externally, because I don't think it's correct. I think that it's most definitely not business as usual. I've seen some really nice takes on it, perhaps putting the word in front of usual. I also think that it's a missed opportunity as well, just because I think that if we just continue to think of business as usual, it's restrictive thinking, and I think that we will need to think differently. We need to think differently now. I know that at the moment we're grappling with what now is, both on a personal level and on a business level. So I think that we need to. I've seen the business as usual moniker quite a few times. I certainly wouldn't be derogatory on those that have used it, because I would put them down as just using it because they're grappling with so much. But personally, I've thought a lot into that terminology, and I think it's definitely not that.
And it's one of the things that you have been coming to grips with, more communication online.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, I would say that as a company, we were pretty good at it anyway. We've one of my co-directors is never in the UK anyway, so I've been very used to Skype, for example, for a good number of years, although we use that less these days. And certainly in the last 5 weeks, we've had to learn a good many different packages. But I think that as a team, there's a concern, obviously, because the two main concerns of the whole situation were firstly with our people and making sure that they were safe, and then obviously operating the business in some form. And in operating the business, we have to communicate with not only our internal team, but our suppliers and our clients. And yeah, it's bringing. Definitely had to get to grips with using it on a constant basis, and being that the only platform in which, or the only way that we can communicate and connect with people. So yeah, I think that not having the ability to meet up with people, we've had to get to grips with. But operationally, well, we've kind of we've been pretty good at it over the years. So. Yeah.
And do you think that some of these new communication techniques, especially between your team and your customers, might stay when this current situation is finished?
I think I would definitely like to think so, because I think that it should be a benefit to us, and I think we should be able to see the benefit. I think. We've talked about it, and we'll probably touch upon it a bit more later. But in terms of the human interaction, I believe in that. I believe in the fact that we need that element. But I think that we should come out of this and take more advantage of the technology that we're all forced to use at the moment, because I think that it could enhance our work-life balance. It could help the climate. It could. There's so many positives, and I think that it would make us more efficient as well. I think that it really does show that if I haven't got my 2-hour commute every day, then there's a lot of time that I could use either for more business activities or for my own personal use. So yeah, I think there will be a mainstream use of it going forward, personally.
Fantastic. Now, one of the things that we've talked about in the run-up to this conversation today has been trade fairs. And I wonder if you could start by just telling me a little bit about the ways in which you as a business use trade fairs.
Yeah, I mean, they've been the mainstay of what Coexistence has done, and it's invested heavily in making sure that its staff can get to trade fairs, and there was a point in time where I personally went to every trade fair there was available within the European space. I mean, yes, we used to go to Neocon and those sorts of things, but yeah, they've been incredibly important over the years, because it's a time when the design community, the furniture communities can come together and look at the products that we're all involved with and connect, which is the most important thing for me that trade fairs do, and it's about connecting people. That's my conclusion of going to trade fairs for the last 20 years is that if I don't go, what I miss is not seeing the people and having a physical contact with the three-dimensional objects that we are so heavily working with on a day-to-day basis.
Have you seen any changes in those trade fairs up until this point, or have they consistently delivered what you've gone there for?
Well, I mean, as a company, we still go to trade fairs. From a personal Daniel Gay point of view, I've had my feelings about trade fairs, and I believe that they could be more sustainable. I believe that they could focus a little bit more on the creative elements, the design thinking, a little bit more. I think that design thinking is definitely there, but it's embedded. And I think that even as somebody who is going there and has the contacts and has built up those connections, sometimes it's quite hard to unearth, you know, because there's so much noise. If you take a furniture fair like Milan, for example, you know, there is so much there that sometimes I call it noise, but there's so much to navigate that I'm not sure that we see what's really the true meaning of what all of this was about. And I think obviously there's the commercial elements to it, but I also think that you know, as designers, you need to understand that you design something and it needs to be commercial in order for it to be successful under the current economic models that we're all working to. And I understand that, but I do get the sense that there's an element of excess. I'm not sure that we need everything that's being shown. I'm not sure that it's as sustainable as it could be. Yeah. And maybe it's just me being a bit jaded and you know, having done it for 20 years, that maybe I need to just step back. It's a love-hate relationship, I suppose. But I did take a break from all of the trade fairs, and I went back to Milan a couple of years ago after a break. And the thing that I focused on was doing exactly what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I took it a lot slower. I didn't see as much. I picked and chose what I wanted to see, and I enjoyed it. I sought out the people that I wanted to see and to ask questions of, and understand what they're working on, and I suppose it was about getting quality rather than quantity, and I had a fantastic time. I really enjoyed it, as opposed to where in the past I've been guilty of marching up and down every aisle, making sure that I've ticked everything off my list and I've got notes for everything, and I come away and I'm sort of punch drunk. I'm kind of snowblind, and I think that there is so much. I'm positive that there's a lot there, but it's that kind of element of unearthing the real quality and the bits that are there that can excite us.
And so we've seen already all of the major trade fairs either postponed or cancelled for, you know, quite sensible reasons. So, you know, how severely do you think that those trade fairs may be impacted in the longer term?
Well, I think it will have an impact. Obviously, there's the financial impact, and I that worries me, you know, because there's a lot of people that will lose money, and that's not something I would wish upon anybody. However, if I answer your question with let's park all of the financial side of it for a second. Mm-hmm. I think that what it does is this offers us an opportunity. Another reason for the reaction that I explained earlier about trade fairs is that I hear a lot of manufacturers saying, well, I have to do this. Mm-hmm. I have to be here. And it's always struck me that you don't necessarily have to do anything. And if you feel that it's just a merry-go-round, then perhaps it's at least open for question. And you know, why could we change this a little bit? And I think that companies have experimented with perhaps not being in the trade fair and maybe doing an external, and maybe doing something outside of the general thing, and sort of thinking, well, what is my terrible term to use, my return on investment, but you know, and really thinking about it. But the mainstream is that we just go with the status quo, and I think that if anything, this gives us an opportunity to breathe, think about it. Is there another way that we can achieve the same goals? And is there another way that's better for the planet, better for the industry as a whole?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the commercial impact of COVID-19 and what's happening now. And perhaps you could tell me a little bit about how supply chains and logistics have been impacted in your experience.
Yeah, well, it's quite a hard question to answer, just because it's a bit like the virus itself and its awful impact on people. It affects people in many different ways, and it's been horrific. And I'm very saddened by the whole thing. But if we look at that, it's had the same impact in terms of the supply chain, because it's affected everybody slightly differently. Everybody's reacted to it slightly differently. Countries are looking at things differently. People are interpreting it differently. So I think that at the moment, we had a really, we had a company get together this morning on Zoom, and that was the main thing that came out to me, was that everybody's doing things differently, and we have to navigate all of those things. I mean, a typical project for us has something like 7 to 10 suppliers on, and every one of those is in a different state. So some are closed completely, some may still be producing product but can't ship it, some might be able to ship it, but can we accept it? It's very fragmented is the correct word I would use, but things are happening. It's not that it's complete shutdown.
Right.
Everybody that's working at Coexistence is working flat out,
Okay.
and things are happening, and but the supply chain has the general business flow has been impacted.
But orders are still being placed for projects moving forward?
Yes, yeah. I mean, yes, they are. Yes, they are, and that's why we've still got people working. And I think that certain projects had been in the pipeline. We've seen completely new projects come to us in the last 5 weeks. I would say that they tend to be the slightly smaller projects, but we are seeing people that have won work and they need us to start helping them with those projects, and they may be for order at some time in the future. But yes, things are happening, and yes, we're in constant contact with manufacturers, and there's definitely some positivity there.
So orders are being placed, and are the order volumes, have they remained consistent?
In terms of the orders that are coming through, I mean, I think there's been a definite drop in activity. I mean, we saw. April has been pretty strong for us so far. March, I think, was typically not so good, because that's when everything kind of everything sort of kicked in with the crisis that we're dealing with. So and I think that we can't really forecast beyond the end of the month. I mean, things are changing constantly. I mean, I think that obviously as somebody leading a business, we've got to constantly think about the the next month and the next quarter and all of those things. But I think it's incredibly difficult in today's world. We're giving it a good go, but I think I think that I can only answer that with saying that current month is pretty normal, actually.
Good. Well, I think it's really fantastic to hear such a positive message that, you know, that business is still continuing, and that's a fantastic thing for everybody to hear. I know that one of the things that is important for you is to really keep up to date with what's happening in the construction industry. Can you tell me a little bit more about why that is?
Well, I think I think there's been the reason is that our industry, I think the furniture industry, runs alongside the construction industry quite a lot. You know, generally, if there's furniture lighting product going in being ordered, it's, you know, from an FF&E point of view, it's generally for a building that's under construction or being refurbished. So, you know, and there's a lag between when that is completed and when the products go in. And so we've always kept a very close eye on the construction industry, and I think that obviously there's a lot of question marks over how that will transpire in the future, because I was reading an article today of a big blue chip company that has seen that it can operate with its 80,000 staff remotely, and it doesn't now need such a big property footprint. So, you know, it will be interesting to see how that transpires. But yeah, we have to keep. I think it makes sense, perfect sense for us to keep in contact with the construction industry, and we do that for a number of ways. You know, that's trade publications, it's analysts, it's speaking to construction companies directly through contacts that we've made through the years, cost consultants. It's about dragging in information that we can then use to get a gauge for the market.
Mm-hmm. How can specifiers and interior designers and architects that are looking to continue to move their projects forward, how are you able to help them at this time?
At this time, well, the one thing that we've always done is give them honest answers. You know, that's one of our key values, is honesty. And, you know, very simply, you know, we sort of got this huge spreadsheet now of tracking who's open and who's closed. And yeah, if someone has a question about a particular manufacturer, I mean, that seems to be the mainstay of what people are asking. You know, look, we're interested in these products. What's the status of this factory? Yeah, so that's the first thing in terms of the current situation. But equally, if it's a project that's way in the future and it's at concept stage, then we can do what we normally do, and that is provide consultancy services about looking at the brief and picking the right product. Or suggesting the right product, or pointing people in giving options. But I think the other element, going back to that navigating that fragmentation that is a byproduct of the current crisis, that we can certainly do that. I mean, one of the big things we've been doing is helping clients logistically, because you know, warehouses are closed, product might be stuck in warehouses in various parts of Europe, and you know, or maybe part of it's available and parts not. So, you know, we've been working hard with that element, which seems not so exciting, but it's important. You know, at the end of the day, you've got to get product from A to B.
Absolutely, it's really important, and I think it's that sort of communication at each level of the supply chain which is going to enable these projects to continue and be successful, even when there's so much uncertainty. And like you said before, the online communication tools now are so easy to use, and everybody's so familiar with them, that's a real tool to help things progress. So the final question today is a bit broad, really, and I just wondered what you felt that this sort of commercial landscape looks like, you know, as we hopefully move out of this period of time.
Yeah, it's a really tricky question, and I wish I had a crystal ball. I suppose it, you know, I think that the way I've looked at it is that I think it's something that we can't answer quite simply. But the way I'm looking at it is that I think that, you know, if we focus on the state, because we're governed by how the COVID-19 virus is affecting the general population and the world, and it seems to me we need to look at it from a containment point of view, and then from a fight sort of, so from a point where things start to start up again, then there's another period, and then it's about the future, you know, once things really are safe and we're able to come back to some sense of normality in terms of interaction, then what does that future landscape look like? And I think that it will be massively changed, and I think that there's an opportunity and there's a need for all businesses to kind of really question what they offer and what they're going to do, and what people are going to require. That kind of doesn't answer your question, but it was a very difficult question to answer.
I think it's just positive to hear that sort of optimism that although things may change as we go through each stage as we come out of this situation, that voice of opportunity is really encouraging, you know, for everybody to hear at this time. Absolutely. So thank you ever so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. So that's our conversation over for today. And so I would like to say an enormous thanks, Daniel Gay, for all of your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and for sharing so much information about Coexistence and the work that you're doing, but also the support and the service that you can offer to the design community. Our next Design Insider webinar will be on the 29th of April, that's next Wednesday. It will be at 3 p.m. And full details of who I'll be talking to next week will be published on BCFA/Design Insider on LinkedIn. So please do, everybody that's watching, pop over there and follow our account to be kept up to date. So thank you ever so much for joining me, everybody, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.